Everyone told me I was lucky to have him. My mother said it, my sister said it, my closest friends said it, my coworkers said it, my daughter said it, even strangers who met him once at parties said it. You're so lucky, he's so good, he's so kind, he's so patient, you. Don't know how rare that is, don't take him for granted. Don't mess this up. The chorus was constant, was unanimous, was so consistent that I believed it, internalized it, told myself they must be right. They all see something I'm missing. They all recognize his value in ways I'm failing to recognize. I must be the problem, must be broken, must be ungrateful, because everyone else can see how lucky I am and I'm the only one who feels trapped. The external narrative became my cage, became the reason I stayed years longer than I should have, became the voice in my head that said you're wrong every time I thought about leaving. Everyone says you're lucky, everyone says he's good, everyone sees what you have. If you leave, you're throwing away something precious, something rare, something you don't deserve anyway. The social pressure to stay with someone everyone approves of is enormous. It's sometimes stronger than the pressure to stay with someone you love, because leaving means not just losing the relationship, but losing everyone's approval, losing the narrative, becoming the person who threw away something everyone else could see was valuable. I'm 53, I left 3 years ago, and people still reference it, still say, I don't understand why you left him, he was so good to you, still imply. I made a mistake, still treat my leaving as evidence of my brokenness, my inability to appreciate what I had, my failure to recognize value when it was right in front of me. The social judgment hasn't lessened, hasn't faded, hasn't been replaced with understanding. People who knew us still side with him, still see him as the victim of my inability to be satisfied, still see me as the one who messed up, who couldn't handle a good thing, who didn't deserve him in the first place. What they didn't see, what they couldn't see, what I couldn't articulate in any way that made sense to people who only saw the surface, was that underneath his goodness, underneath his patience, underneath everything they witnessed and approved of, I was disappearing, was being slowly erased, was becoming smaller and quieter and less myself in ways that were invisible to everyone outside the relationship. The goodness they saw was real, but the cost of that goodness was also real, and the cost was me, was my voice, was my preferences, was my ability to exist at full size. And nobody saw that, nobody believed that, nobody understood that you can be with someone good and still be dying inside. If you've ever stayed in a relationship because everyone told you to, if you've ignored your own misery because everyone else saw happiness, if you felt crazy because your experience didn't match everyone's perception, if you've been trapped by other people's approval of your partner, if you've realized that social pressure to stay with someone good is sometimes stronger than the internal need to leave, you already know what I'm describing. You already know the isolation of being the only one who sees the truth, and maybe seeing it named will help you trust your experience over everyone else's perception, will help you believe that you're not crazy, not ungrateful, not wrong. We met when I was 48, he was 51, both divorced, both established in careers, both had adult children, both thought we knew what we wanted, what we needed, what healthy relationship looked like after failed marriages and years of being single mutual friends. Introduced us at a dinner party, said, you two would be perfect. Together, both stable, both mature, both past the drama of younger relationships, both good people who deserve good people. Everyone approved from the beginning, before we'd even gone on a first date. My friends were already saying, this one is different. This one is good. Don't mess this up. He was good in visible ways, ways everyone could see and comment on, ways that made people notice, made people tell me how lucky I was. He opened doors, pulled out chairs, brought me flowers on regular schedule, remembered birthdays and anniversaries, showed up when he said he would, called when he said he'd call, texted good morning every day, was reliable, consistent, predictable in ways my ex-husband never was, thoughtful in small daily gestures that people witnessed and commented on. My friends would see him bring me coffee exactly how I liked it would say. He's so attentive, so considerate, you're so lucky. Men like that are rare treasure him. My coworkers would hear him call to check on me during stressful work days. Would say he's so supportive, so caring, you found a good one. My mother met him twice and said, don't mess this up like you did your marriage. This one is a keeper, this one is good, this one treats you right. My daughter, who was 26 and skeptical of anyone I dated, said, I like him, Mom, he's kind to you, he's stable, he seems like someone you can count on. The first year felt good, felt easy, felt like everything a mature adult relationship should be after a messy divorce and years of being single. No drama, no conflict, no chaos, no emotional volatility, just steady, reliable, comfortable. Partnership, everyone commented on how good we were together, how happy I seemed, how this was clearly the right relationship at the right time, how I deserved this after what I'd been through. I believed them. Believed I was happy, believed this was what I'd been missing, what I'd needed all along. Year 2, we moved in together. His suggestion said we were spending every night together anyway. Said keeping 2 places was wasteful, inefficient, said we should take the next step. Everyone was thrilled when I told them. My mother said, finally, it's about time. This is what you've been waiting for. My sister said, I'm so happy for you. He's wonderful. You're building something real. My friends threw me a small celebration, said this is your fresh start. This is the happy ending you deserve. The external validation was overwhelming, made me feel like I was doing something right, something good, something everyone approved of. His house was bigger, nicer, in better neighborhood, had more space for both of us, made logical sense to move into his place rather than mine. I sold my condo, the place I'd bought after my divorce, my first place that was entirely mine, decorated to my taste, organized my way, filled with my energy, packed it all up, moved my things into his house, merged my life into his existing structure. Everyone said how wonderful, how exciting, how this was the next chapter I'd been waiting for. Nobody saw that I was giving up my space, my independence, my place that was mine. They only saw that I was moving forward, moving in with a good man, building a life with someone stable. Living together revealed dynamics I hadn't noticed while dating, small things at first, things that seemed insignificant, things I couldn't complain about without sounding petty, ungrateful, difficult, impossible to please. He had preferences for how the house should be, how things should be organized, how daily life should function. He liked mornings quiet, like dinner at specific time, liked the living room organized a certain way, liked his routines undisturbed. All reasonable preferences, all things any adult might prefer, but somehow all his preferences became my job to maintain. I found myself organizing my entire life around his comfort, his schedule, his need for things to be exactly as he wanted them. I'd wake up early to make coffee quietly, would tiptoe around getting ready so I wouldn't disturb his morning reading time, would leave for work before he came downstairs so he could have his quiet morning exactly as he preferred it, would rush home from work to have dinner ready by 6:30, his preferred dinner time, would organize my evening around his routine, his preferences, his need for the house to be peaceful and orderly. I was performing constantly, monitoring myself constantly, adjusting constantly to maintain the environment he needed. When I mention it to friends, say I feel like I'm walking on eggshells, like I'm always monitoring myself, they'd say that's just what living together is like, that's normal adjustment. That's compromise. Everyone does that when they share space. You can't expect everything to be your way. You have to consider his needs too. And then they'd add, and honestly, he's so good to you. He's so patient, so understanding. You're lucky to have someone so easy to live with, so reasonable. Their responses made me feel crazy, made me feel like I was inventing problems, like I was ungrateful for not appreciating how good I had it. Month 6 of living together, my sister visited for a long weekend, stayed in our guest room, observed our daily rhythms, watched how we interacted. Watched how I moved through the house the last morning she was there. We were having coffee alone. He was out for his morning run. She said, "You seem different." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I don't know exactly, quieter, smaller somehow. Like you're being careful all the time, monitoring yourself." I felt defensive, said that's not true. "I'm just being considerate, being a good partner." She said, "I've never seen you be this careful before. You used to take up space, be loud, be messy, be yourself. Now you seem like you're performing." Her observation bothered me deeply, stayed with me for weeks, bounced around my head at odd moments. Was I different? Was I smaller? Was I performing? I started paying attention, started noticing how much I modified my behavior, how much energy I spent monitoring myself, keeping my voice down, keeping my movements quiet, keeping my presence minimal, organizing my entire existence around not disturbing his peace, not disrupting his routines, not requiring too much attention or accommodation. The noticing made it worse, made me hyper aware of the constant performance, the constant adjustment, the constant diminishing. I tried talking to my best friend about it. We met for coffee. I said I feel like I'm disappearing, like I'm becoming someone else. Someone smaller, someone quieter, someone who doesn't take up space. She looked confused. Said, "What are you talking about? You seem fine. You seem happy." I said, "I don't feel happy. I feel like I'm erasing myself to fit into his life." She said, "That's just what relationships require. That's compromise. That's partnership. Everyone adjusts when they live with someone." Then she added, "And honestly, I don't understand what you're complaining about. He's amazing. He's so good to you, so patient, so kind. He brings you flowers. He calls to check on you. He shows up for you. Do you know how many women would love to have what you have? You need to appreciate it. Stop looking for problems." The comment felt like a slap, made me feel ungrateful, broken, unable to recognize good things, unable to be satisfied. She was my best friend. And even she couldn't see it, couldn't understand, thought I was inventing problems, thought I should just be grateful. I tried talking to my mother about it, called her one evening when I was feeling particularly trapped, said, "I'm struggling, I'm not happy. I'm thinking about leaving." She was horrified. Said, "You're thinking of leaving him? Why, what did he do?" I said, "He didn't do anything." That's the problem. I can't point to anything specific. I just feel like I'm disappearing. She said, "That doesn't make sense. If he's not doing anything wrong, why would you leave? If you're unhappy, that's on you. That's your problem to fix, not his." She continued, said, "I don't understand you. You have a good man, a man who treats you well, who's stable, who's kind, and you're complaining. You're never satisfied. You did this in your marriage too, always finding problems, always unable to appreciate what you have. You're 50 years old. You need to grow up. Stop being so selfish. Appreciate the good man you have. Good men don't come around often, especially at your age. If you leave him, you'll regret it. You'll end up alone, and you'll deserve it." Her response crushed me, made me feel like there was something fundamentally wrong with me, like I was broken at core level, unable to function in an adult relationship, unable to appreciate goodness, unable to be grateful. Everyone else could see his value, everyone else thought. I was lucky everyone else saw what I had. I was the only one who felt trapped, which meant the problem was me, was my perspective, was my inability to appreciate what everyone else could see clearly. I tried therapy, told the therapist on the first session, "Everyone says I'm lucky to have him, but I feel miserable." She asked why I felt miserable, what was making me unhappy. I tried to explain, stumbled over words, couldn't articulate it clearly because it wasn't one thing. Wasn't something I could point to. Said he's good, he's kind, he's patient, he does everything right, but I feel like I'm disappearing. Like I'm becoming smaller to fit into his life, like I'm erasing myself. She asked for examples, concrete instances. I gave them, described the quiet mornings, the exact dinner time, the way. I organized everything around his preferences, his routines, his need for peace, as I said them out loud. They sounded trivial, sounded like nothing. Sounded like I was complaining about someone who simply had preferences, who liked routine, who valued order. She said it sounds like normal cohabitation adjustment. Sounds like you might need to work on communication, on expressing your needs more clearly. Have you told him how you feel? I said yes, I've tried. He says I'm free to do whatever I want. He's never told me I can't do things. She said then maybe the problem is your perception. Maybe you're creating restrictions that don't actually exist. Maybe you need to work on asserting yourself, on taking up space even when it feels uncomfortable. The session made me feel more alone, more crazy, more convinced that something was wrong with me. Even my therapist didn't see it, didn't understand. Thought the problem was my communication skills, my inability to assert myself, not the dynamic itself. I tried talking to a coworker I was close with, someone who'd been through difficult divorce, thought maybe she'd understand. We were having lunch. I said I'm struggling in my relationship. Feel like I'm losing myself. She said, what's happening? What's he doing? I said, that's the thing. He's not doing anything. He's good. Everyone says I'm lucky, but I feel trapped. She said, trapped? How? What's trapping you? I tried to explain. Said I feel like I have to be smaller, quieter, less myself to maintain peace, to keep things good. She said, I mean this with love, but it sounds like you're self-sabotaging. It sounds like you're creating problems because things are too good, too stable. She referenced her own experience. Said when I first started dating someone stable after my divorce, I did the same thing, looked for problems, felt uncomfortable with the peace, had to work on accepting that good relationships feel different, feel calmer. Maybe that's what you're experiencing. Her response made sense logically, made me wonder if she was right, if I was self-sabotaging, if I was so damaged from my divorce that I couldn't handle healthy relationship, couldn't accept peace, couldn't appreciate stability. The doubt was crushing, made me question everything, made me think maybe everyone was right, maybe I was the problem, maybe I needed to fix myself, learn to appreciate what I had, stop looking for problems where none existed. Month 40, I stopped trying to explain it to people, stopped mentioning my unhappiness, stopped seeking validation for my experience, learned that nobody would believe me, nobody would understand, nobody would see what I saw. Because what I saw was invisible to everyone outside the relationship, was too subtle to point to, was too wrapped in his genuine goodness to separate out and name. I became completely isolated in my experience, trapped not just by the relationship, but by everyone's perception of the relationship, by the unanimous narrative that I was lucky. But standing there, stirring sauce, something broke. Clarity arrived like lightning, sudden and undeniable. I can't do this anymore. I have to leave, regardless of what everyone thinks, regardless of what I'll lose, regardless of being seen as wrong, ungrateful, broken. I have to leave or I'll disappear completely. There will be nothing left of me except this performance, this version of myself that exists to maintain someone else's peace. I told him that night after dinner, said I need to leave. I'm not happy. I can't do this anymore. He looked shocked, genuinely surprised, said I don't understand. What's wrong? What did I do? Talk to me. We can work through this. I said you didn't do anything wrong. That's what makes this so impossible to explain. You're good. You're everything everyone says you are, patient, kind, thoughtful. But I'm disappearing. I'm becoming someone I don't recognize. I need to leave before there's nothing left of me. He said, I don't understand what you're saying. I've never asked you to be anyone other than yourself. I've never controlled you, never restricted you. You're free to do whatever you want. I said, I know you haven't. That's what makes it so hard to explain to anyone. The cage isn't one you built consciously. It's one I built trying to be what you needed, trying to maintain the peace you require, trying to be easy enough, quiet enough, small enough, and I can't do it anymore. He told everyone I left because I was having some kind of breakdown, some kind of midlife crisis, because I couldn't handle commitment, because I was broken from my divorce and couldn't function in a healthy relationship. His narrative made sense to everyone, explained why I'd leave someone so good, explained what everyone had been confused by. Of course, she's having a breakdown. She can't handle someone treating her well. She's damaged, she's sabotaging, she needs help. Everyone believed him. My mother stopped speaking to me for 8 months, said I'd made the biggest mistake of my life, said I'd thrown away the best thing that ever happened to me, said I'd regret it when I was alone and realized what I'd given up, said good men don't wait around for women who don't appreciate them. My friends slowly stopped calling, stopped inviting me to group events where he might be, chose him in the social divorce because he was good and I was the one who left. I lost friendships I'd had for 20 years, lost my social circle, lost people I thought would be in my life forever. 3 years out, I've rebuilt my life from scratch, made new friends who didn't know him, who don't compare me to who I was with him, who don't tell me I made a mistake. I've lost most of the people who were in my life during that relationship, lost my mother's approval for years before we slowly rebuilt, lost friends I thought were forever friends. The cost of leaving was enormous, was exactly what I'd feared. Everyone did think I was wrong. Everyone did judge me. Everyone did see me as the problem. But I'm not disappearing anymore. I exist at full volume again. I'm loud when I want to be loud. Messy when I want to be messy. I take up space without apologizing for it. I have preferences without guilt. I make choices without checking if they'll disturb anyone's peace. I'm myself again, fully, completely, at full size. The freedom feels strange, feels unfamiliar, feels like something I have to consciously practice because I spent 5 years learning to be small, but it's worth it. Worth every judgment, worth every lost relationship, worth being seen as wrong by everyone who only saw the surface. Here's what I desperately wish someone had told me when everyone started saying how lucky I was. External validation of your relationship means nothing if your internal experience is suffering. Other people's approval doesn't make you less trapped. Everyone seeing him as good doesn't make the cage less real. The unanimous agreement that you should be grateful doesn't change what you're living. Social pressure to stay with someone everyone approves of is one of the strongest forms of control. It's sometimes stronger than anything happening inside the relationship, because it isolates you completely, makes you doubt yourself entirely, makes you believe everyone else is right, and you're the only one who's wrong. If you're reading this and everyone tells you you're lucky but you feel miserable, if everyone approves of your partner but you feel trapped, if you're staying because everyone says you should, if you feel crazy because your experience doesn't match everyone's perception, if social pressure has become your cage, you're not crazy, not ungrateful, not broken. You're experiencing something real, something valid, something that matters regardless of what everyone else sees, and leaving might cost you everyone's approval. might cost you relationships you thought were permanent, might cost you being seen as right, but staying costs you yourself, and that cost is too high, regardless of how good everyone says he is. If this resonated, if social pressure has kept you trapped, the next video is crucial. It's called He Didn't Want a Partner. He Wanted a Permanent Apology. It's about what happens when you realize you've been apologizing constantly for existing, for having needs, for taking up space, for not being easy enough, quiet enough, small enough. When you understand that he never wanted a partner, never wanted an equal, wanted someone who would apologize for being human, who would make themselves smaller and smaller until they disappeared entirely into his life without disturbing anything. Link is on screen now.